I'd like to call the Benner Township Supervisors meeting for August 3rd to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to note that we had an executive session on the July 20th at 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. regarding personnel matters. All three board members were present. On to the minutes for the July 6th meeting. Any corrections or?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So we have the treasurer's report. The accounts payable from the general fund was $146,369.49. I would move to approve.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. The accounts receivable from the general fund was $55,492.72. I would move to approve that.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are on to old business. We have the zoning ordinance amendments for the agri-tourism in the data centers.
Correct. I can report on following last month's meeting on the agri-tourism proposed amendments. We had some discussion about the nature of the farmstead business that could be adjusted to allow the agri-tourism type activities. I went back through my notes from that, so I made some additional revisions to the language that would include an amendment to the definition of a farmstead business to really kind of specifically include, a barn or other structure on the farm being used as a wedding venue or reception facility, but it also includes other types of businesses such as a farm stand or a U-Pick operation or tours or seasonal festivals, something like that would also fall within that classification. So there was also discussion last month about not having this as a conditional use, but to allow these types of activities as a permitted use, provided certain criteria were satisfied. One of the items that was discussed had to do with who would actually operate the farmstead business. And the notion was that a member of the farm owner's family would operate, either the farm owner, him or herself, or a member of their family would operate it. So the ordinance already has a definition of family, and that requires that they live within one dwelling unit. And I don't think that's what you really have in mind here. So I included a statement in the definition to say, a member of the family may include persons related by blood, marriage, legal guardianship, or adoption, and for purposes of the farmstead business are not required to reside in one dwelling unit. I did include that. And then the other activities, the other criteria that I included, we discussed last month having to do with required setback, at least 150 feet from adjoining properties, unless a structure is already located at a particular place and you can't move the structure. Having appropriate septic and water for whatever's going on. I mean, some agritourism type activities are not going to require, septic or water, but some will. So, hours of operation between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. Signage in accordance with Article 18. Let's see, any access to the farmstead business will be sufficient to address the anticipated patrons. And access roads or lanes shall be, all-weather, smooth driving surfaces, free of mud, non-erodible, and shall not cause stormwater drainage problems. I did include a provision that the applicant will submit a plan to the zoning officer as part of the permit. So the zoning officer have to know enough about what's going on. Compliance with food and alcohol regulations, minimum size of 15 acres. Now that, again, you may look at, there may be some farms, I don't know if there's any farms in the township that are smaller than 15 acres that might want to do some sort of a farmstead type business. So that's something that I just don't know whether there's anybody in the township that would fit that. But what I drafted was minimum size of 15 acres. The other one was some discussion last month, is that the farmstead business can't become the principal use. The farm has to keep operating as a farm for this to apply. Some sort of, you don't want a farmstead business to become sort of an overriding commercial activity that kind of, is not appropriate for the zone. Let's see, there was a discussion last month about the number of employees, so I adjusted that just to say the farmstead business shall retain or employ such personnel to ensure adequate service to the patrons. Not a specific number or a limitation or anything. Proof of insurance, I included minimum coverage of $30,000 per incident, $100,000 per aggregate. Basically, those are kind of minimum coverages that would apply to almost any business. Obviously, somebody, depending on what the person is operating, they may want more coverage for themselves, obviously. And that's basically it. Those are the items that
The ordinance for a farmstead business now maxes out the square foot of the structure as 3,000 square feet. Is that going to be adequate for?
we should probably revise that, yeah.
Barns are bigger now.
Yeah. So that would, that's within the 1448?
Yep, it's
Yeah.
C1, or C2, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And then the other, should there be a requirement that it be approved by the Center County Planning Office, because it would be a second use to property, and therefore by our ordinances, it has to have county approval.
Correct, you'd have to have a land development plan, basically, yeah.
Rodney, would that even be if it was a use by right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I would, I hope I didn't fail to state that this would be a permitted use in the ag and the RR zones. This would be a permitted use, so it wouldn't come to the supervisors or anything for a conditional use type hearing. They still need to do land development,
Right.
normal stuff. So I guess on this one, the next step would be to actually, prepare the draft of the ordinance, get it to Sharon so we can advertise it, get it to the township secretary so it can be advertised. Because once we advertise, it has to be available at the township office. So, that's kind of where that one stands.
So we're going to revise the square footage from 3,000 to?
I think I would just remove it. I would remove a square footage
That
I don't think it
requirement.
matters.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we just take that out of there?
right.
So
Okay.
completely remove C2.
Yeah, I think so.
Ed,
The only question I have is, I don't think I can intelligently comment on this tonight, because all I saw was the rough draft. I haven't seen subsequent draft. Is there going to be more discussion on this before it's advertised?
There could be. I think the thought was to get it advertised and actually have the hearing at the September meeting.
So it can be revised after the advertisement?
Well, if it's revised, if the revisions are substantial, then it would need to be re-advertised, but yes, it can be.
Okay. Is that my understanding that the final draft had not been prepared yet? So-
Right.
And I see you have made some changes.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah. So,
And shouldn't this go before the planning commission?
It probably should,
I would-
yeah. This should go
I
to
would-
the planning commission for comment,
I was
yes.
going to say, I would like to get the draft done, get it to them, even, you know, and then proceed with it once everybody has
Yeah.
put some eyes on it. I don't think we can do it for September.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? Good in?
No, I just wanted to make sure that there'd be an opportunity to review and comment.
To actually see it before it gets passed, yeah, there will be, yes. I apologize, I didn't get that far along on it at this point after last month's meeting. We're still kind of working through some of the stuff, so.
And where are we at with the data centers?
I don't have that ready to go yet either, so there's a lot of moving parts with that right now, so.
Did you read the one that I just forwarded to you?
Yes, I did.
I don't know if that, did that make any sense at all?
It did. It was out of Allegheny County, and it looked like a fair amount of work went into that one. Yeah, that was a decent ordinance. I know Mike has generated some decent material, and yeah, there's just a lot of stuff here to try to. And I guess that on that point, though, I will state some jurisdictions are actually adopting resolutions trying to say they will not accept a data center application. Well, I don't think that's legal. I don't think you can do that. You may tie them up in court long enough, you know, for something to happen, but I think you're going to lose that one. So, and it's probably better just to get something in place. We're not going to know all the ins and outs. The experience on this just isn't sufficient yet. But get something in place that can be modified later on. I think that's probably the way to approach that. It's not going to be perfect whenever we do get it done. Depending upon how this industry develops, I know I've heard that, you know, Google is going to launch in 27. They're scheduled to do it in 27. They're putting these things in orbit. Yeah, we have data centers in orbit because it's cold up there. They don't have issues with cooling them. China is doing it in the ocean. Some Chinese companies are putting them very deep in the ocean because it's cold down there. So we don't know where this industry is going to go. But
Rod, for a time extension, would it be, I guess, more feasible at this point to create an ordinance, giving a 6-month moratorium, giving enough time after that? I know it can't be done by a resolution, but can you do a moratorium by an ordinance?
you know, I don't believe you could. I don't believe you can exclude an activity. There would be a mechanism. The township itself could declare its ordinance invalid because it fails to address data centers. And that would give you a 180-day period to correct that error, if you wanted to go that route.
Would that invalidate the entire
It
ordinance?
doesn't really invalidate the entire ordinance, just invalidates it for that specific use, yeah. You just, you adopt, you basically, it's a township curative amendment procedure that you say, hey, wait a minute, our ordinance is wrong because it doesn't address this. You usually run into the curative amendments when you have some sort of an exclusionary type provision of the ordinance that adversely affects housing or, you know, people, the ability to build low-income housing or something like that is where you usually see the curative amendment procedures, but you could do it for data centers. So if you want me to look into that a little bit more and come back next month with either a draft ordinance or more information on the township curative amendment procedure, you can certainly do that.
So if we had something in place, like I forwarded to you, would it be better for us to go ahead and just put that in place and then modify it as we get time to go along, so there's at least something?
Yep, I would be tempted to do it that way, just get something in place, draft it so that setbacks are sufficiently large, so that, if one of these things does come in, it's not gonna bother anybody. You got a 3,000-foot setback or something like that, from any other residential uses, because what you have is noise and vibration is the primary things that you have, as far as I understand right now. So you could adopt some provisions like that, and then take some more time and refine those later on. You could do that.
That sounds like the way to go. At least we have something set, and then we can always modify it, change it as we
Correct.
get it more time to study it.
Correct, do something fairly simple, straightforward, but get something on the books.
Is that what, did he send you enough that we can
Oh, yeah,
look at it?
between Mike and what Larry said, what Mike said, yeah, absolutely, we can get something prepared there.
Could you put something in that ordinance? I know they use an extortionate amount of water, that they have to provide their own water source and not come from somebody else's public
You
water.
could do that, yes, and I've seen.
I think
them-
that would be a good idea,
Right,
because they use a ton of water.
yes, if they're cooling it above ground, you're right, they use a ton of water.
They would be responsible for,
And even closed loop systems, I've seen where developers say, oh, it's a closed loop system, we don't have to use any water, it's all, and that's not correct, they do have to pass a lot of water. And that water is, sometimes has some characteristics that you really don't want dumped on the ground in your jurisdiction.
right,
So,
either coming in or whatever water that if they discharge in it.
Right.
And some of the hyperscale ones can use 1 million or 5 million gallons of water a month.
I know it's astronomical.
Yep.
It is.
so yeah, I'll get something drafted, so you have
Okay.
something that you can look at.
Well, we can get something on the
Something
books.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, we done with that?
Yes.
Okay. We're here for Tara Koch, her sewage planning module, resolution 26-13.
So she went ahead, Mrs. Koch
Yeah.
decided to go ahead with the planning module, and we have a resolution for you guys to adopt tonight.
Okay.
Planning Commission reviewed it at their last meeting and signed off. Rishel did his part. This should be, I believe, the last part of it. Justin reviewed and signed off on his part.
Okay. I move to approve resolution 26-13.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we're on to new business. Is Ed here? Maxwell.
I never see him.
I didn't see him either, so what's the, this is all the initials, it's the DSAME agreement.
So it's the declaration of maintenance agreement for an access to stormwater facilities. So this is for the Ed Maxwell property and the Bilyeu's property, which used to be, her parents
Claire.
were Dr. Mr. Claire. They're doing stormwater facilities, some of which of it will be located in Benner Township, some of which will be located in College Township, and because of that, it's required to have a joint agreement with both townships and all parties signing off on this. I believe, Rod, do you want to?
I've reviewed it, yeah, it's fairly standard, stormwater maintenance provisions and access for the township to have the right to go in and inspect. And if the owner does not make repairs, then the township can make the repairs and charge the owner. That's fairly standard stuff. Like I said, the strange thing about this is that we have, the stormwater facilities actually span two properties and 2 townships. So, the actual document I reviewed looks acceptable. I did not actually have the plans and so on with it, but those are.
Well, Don called me on this, because it happened pretty quick, but he said he reviewed it and he's good with everything. So, we need a motion for that.
Correct.
So I would move to approve that.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. With that, we have recommendations from the Planning Commission on the Rockview property. You guys read that. That's a conservation overlay
Yep.
easement that I think was originally
So,
on the.
so Mike is here, why don't we let him kind of review it and explain it to everybody?
Similar to what you're looking at with the data centers, there's some question as to what's going to happen to that property that belongs to the state in Rockview. We've been talking about it a little bit in our planning commission meetings, the past few meetings, and our recommendation that we're looking at to make to the Board of Supervisors is to extend that Spring Creek Conservation Overlay District. What you're looking for, current ordinances don't really address a lot of the needs. You see the problems that you have with the Benner Pike as it exists now, and if that same amount of development develops the same way, that the rest of the way through there, it's going to compound traffic problems and things like that. Your recent traffic studies where they were talking about feeder streets behind and things like that, none of that's required in our ordinances that we have currently. It's going to take a significant investment in time and money to develop an ordinance to make sure that we can regulate any kind of development that comes into that area. So our recommendation would be to a very cost-effective way would be to modify your map for the zoning of that Spring Creek Conservation District and move those district lines to encompass some or all of that property that may potentially be going up for sale or something like that. It meets a lot of the objectives of what you're hearing from people like the Clearwater Conservancy. It sort of limits the use that can be there. It buys you that time, just like you're looking for the data centers. You're going to obviously, to do a zoning change, you'll have to do your hearing and those types of procedures. But the expense, you don't have to rewrite an ordinance. It's already in place. All you need to do is adjust the boundaries of that. It's probably the most cost-effective thing that you could do to put some temporary protection into that area. It also helps you out. Right now, you don't have any idea what the state intends to do with it. So you could invest a lot of time and money in writing a very specific ordinance for commercial development there, and the state may never sell it. They may keep it as farmland the rest of the time, and you put all that extra time and expense into changing that ordinance. If we do something like this and pull that conservation overlay district, if they're interested in selling it for development purposes now, they're going to have to come to the township and request a zoning change so that it makes that property available. So it gives the township a seat at the table to help to determine what that future is. I don't see a whole lot of downsides to it. It would be pretty quick and easy to do. It's probably your least expensive option available to get something in place. It gives us some time to really think through that plan and get an appropriate ordinance to develop that area if that's what public comment gets. Of course, during the process, we'll have public hearing before the approval of any ordinance change. So, you'll be able to hear from those stakeholders. Obviously, you'll hear probably support from the people that want it to remain in conservation. You'll also get an idea of who's out there looking to maybe take advantage of it for development, so it can give you some ideas as to how you might need to design that ordinance. If we ask our solicitor today, hey, for next month, could you bring us an ordinance that can cover any possible development in that area? He's not, he's either going to charge you a ton of money or he's not going to get it done right. So that's just our recommendation. If you've got any questions.
Mike, what would you do about a CI gunner?
Well, from the Planning Commission, we're just a recommendation. We're just making the recommendation. Of course, it's up to the supervisor to decide where you place those. But with any zoning, if you change the zoning of a pre-existing place, they're going to maintain their use. There'll be a pre-existing non-conforming use.
Right. I was just wondering about any expansion or that type of stuff.
That's it's an interesting topic. It would be fun to see how that plays out since I'm not a supervisor. But a lot of times certainly the state and the federal government, sometimes when they're doing expansion projects, they don't always abide by the local zoning ordinances. I think that's a bridge that you cross at the time. They can always ask for a variance or and you're not trying to limit the operation of the prison by any stretch. So, and I really don't foresee that you would keep that overlay in place forever, unless that's what the public wants. We'll find out in the public hearings what they want, but it gives you some options, buys you that breathing time like you're looking for your data centers as well.
How difficult would that be, Rodney?
fairly easy map, well, as easy as anything is these days, but it's a map amendment. It would just be a map amendment. You'd have to have an ordinance to amend the overlay district, be a map change. The county would probably help prepare that document, the actual map. But yeah, it wouldn't be that difficult, just do a map amendment.
Is this something that would be portrayed by Benner Township, by Spring Township, wherever it would connect also?
Now, this is Benner Township. We have our own zoning
Yes.
ordinance. We have our own zoning map. We can only directly impact that. So it's only going to be wherever we stretch it within Benner Township. So if where it touches College Township, if they want to put a data center on that border, you know, that's up to
And
them.
that's why I was asking that question. Is this something that all townships that are involved with that property in this beginning stage should be getting their heads together as to an overall plan for everybody?
It's a great idea. If already one small piece has come off of that and been sold with not a lot of public warning
Right.
for that. So next week, the same thing could happen with a big chunk of that land.
That's why I'm saying.
If it's currently allowed in our ordinance, you couldn't do anything to stop it. So the idea behind this is what can we do to put a pause on
Slow it
development,
down.
at least for Benner Township.
Okay.
What the other municipalities do, we don't have control over. Should we have a conversation with them? Absolutely. I think
Yeah,
it's
that's what I was thinking.
it's a regional resource.
The more
But,
numbers would,
I'm sure you'll hear from those others when we say we're going to put all of our land into conservation. I'm sure you'll see some other folks poke their head in for those hearings for sure.
Rodney, do you see any downside to it?
I really don't. I really don't. It's, I guess I'm thinking of, there could possibly be a challenge, that we're extending the conservation overlay district too far or something like that. But I mean, people can challenge anything if they want to. So I don't know that I really see a downside to this in terms of just saying, oh, wait a minute here, we want to put some guardrails around this. And yeah, some people say those guardrails are, pretty stringent right now, but we want to put some guardrails around until we get a chance to do some more long-term planning. I don't see a significant downside to that.
I know all the meetings that I've been in for this property with the Dutch Take Hack. I've been meeting with College Township because they have the next biggest chunk there. And the bulk of this property, if it was to go up, is pretty much agreed upon with the lay of the land. It's going to be almost all conservative. Of the 6,000 acres, there's a very small percentage that is worth anything to a developer. And they're looking into it. They've already done a big study on it. And I asked them if they could help us with getting the zoning. They were talking about like flex zoning. So affordable housing was some of the discussion and stuff like that. So they're working on it, and I'm keeping in the loop with them to kind of learn what they're looking at. If it helps us, they'd be more than glad to offer some services to make it happen. So because
But if we put the overlay on it,
Then they have to come to us.
then they have to sit down with us for sure.
Well,
And we've got to discuss the
well, they
entire
don't
thing.
Right. Well, they don't have to
And-
talk to us about anything they're doing.
Well-
I just ask them while they're doing it, if
Right.
they can keep us in the loop, maybe it'll help us. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do. But it's not even known if it's going anywhere.
Right.
There's the thing.
I mean, I like the idea of putting the overlay on. I just think that makes a lot of sense, and it gives us a lot of time, buys us time or whatever. It just seems like it's, so we just have to make a motion for you to move forward with putting it together.
That's what it would be, to put the ordinance together, to extend the overlay district to cover that.
Yeah.
being who owns the land, would us or College Township even have anything to say if they said, hey, we sold this ground to Joe Blow?
Well, that's part of the thing. I mean, no one knows.
I mean, being that it's the state.
But then it's no longer owned by the state and the private individual
Right,
has to
it has
follow
to come
something.
to
All right.
That's, that way it's come to us.
That's what I was gonna say, if the state owns it, they wanna put a bigger prison on it, they don't have to get our permission. But if you have that overlay in there and it's sold privately, that private person then has to follow the zone that's there.
Right.
So it doesn't affect the state if the state's gonna continue to own the land and use it. But if a private party purchases the land, then they have to follow it.
Should make sense to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion, we have Ronnie move forward with looking into putting it in the overlay or whatever.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank Mike. Thank you.
We're on to Resolution 26-14, illegally parked vehicles.
This was something that Dennis had asked me to prepare. There's been some problems, I guess, in some areas of the township with people parking cars on the road. And we already have an ordinance that specifies no parking on certain streets, and these streets are already covered, but the problem is they're not signed. They haven't put signs up yet. Well, Dennis doesn't want to, he could spend, $100,000 putting signs up on all of them. What this resolution allows is for him to identify the complaint areas and sign those areas, and then take action under the ordinance. So that's what this is designed to do.
Yeah, talk to them about it.
Yeah, especially snowplow season.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Well, I would move to approve Resolution 26-14.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we're on to Resolution 26-15. It's a declaration of recognition of Suicide Prevention Month. I would make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we're here, we have a letter from the Fouses about converting a ball field into a softball field. Did anyone read that?
I did, but
I think we do have, Mr. Brooks is here from Little League that would like to speak.
Okay. Yeah, that's best.
Yes, I'm Brooks Foss, president of Bellefonte Little League. I know several of you are aware of the situation. We have first option to utilize the two fields at Continental Courts. It's been that way for longer than I've been around the league, 10, 12 years. I haven't seen the letter. I have no idea what they're requesting, but I wanted to make sure you understood how important those fields are to our league. We had 340 children in our league this year. We merged recently with Nittany Valley, so we pulled their baseball kids into Bellefonte Little League. So the boundary now for baseball is all of Bellefonte Area School District. Nittany Valley currently maintains softball. We're in a process right now of officially separating completely. So this fall, that's going to occur. Nittany Valley will offer softball only, as they did this year. They will operate as their own financial entity, nonprofit. They're going to maintain Panic Fields and Marion Walker, likely. And Bellefonte's going to absorb Pleasant Gaps Complex, Getty Park. So what that means is baseball has traditionally been operating in Marion Walker as well, and we used all of those fields. We're already hard pressed for field locations. We have 7 teams that practiced here this year on these 2 fields every day of the week, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Losing those 2 fields will be a dramatic problem for our league. We don't have the resources to send kids to. And I'm trying to figure that out now. I'm trying to work with Draymond to get a property donated to build 2 more practice fields because we don't have space for kids to go practice baseball. That's our biggest challenge is practice fields. So I just want to make it aware to the board here that it would be a dramatic impact to how we operate. We would have, so like I said, 340 children, softball services less than 100. a small fraction of those are actually Benner Township residents. We have many baseball children that actually live in the township that are practicing on those fields. So that's what I can tell you about our current situation. One of the recommendations I would have is I would support converting a field for softball, the farthest one towards the Continental Courts entrance, and allowing us to still maintain the first option, March through the end of May. That's really the regular season for us. During that time, we use the fields mostly in the evenings, 4 p.m. to dark. So others could, as they do now, utilize the fields outside the times that we're using them. Also weekends, typically we're not using them at all weekends. And then outside of that season, you know, the rest of the year, June through, you know, until it gets cold, we're not using them. So it could be open. I still think there's also an opportunity, there's a lot of open space there to install a third backstop and another infield. Softball diamond's the same size as the Little League diamond at the majors level. The difference is the pitching distance. So it's not a huge investment to put in another infield for softball with a mound. They're gonna have a portable mound. There's got to be a place to store that. You're not gonna want to leave it outside all the time. They're several $1,000s. People are gonna have to be willing to bring it out, put it up, put it away, maintain it. I just don't believe that's gonna happen. There's a very small number of people that are gonna use that, and I think it's a resource that's gonna be wasted.
Is this used just for practice only for the league?
We only use it for practice.
Practice, so
Yeah.
not for sanctioned games or anything else?
No games. So this season, we had 34 teams in our league. So we have to have a place for 34 teams to practice. So Spring Township, we operate that facility, 2 fields. 4 of our majors teams out of 7 practice there every day of the week during the Little League season. We use Continental Courts for our minors division, so most of those teams are practicing there. We have coach pitch teams practice in all the random places we can find, including right here in your grass area usually. And then we got T-ball too. So we're trying to find every possible place to put kids on fields as it is.
So do you actually need an elevated pitching mound for what you guys are doing?
For baseball, we typically do, yeah.
You do, but do you need one, or is that just?
Yeah, ideally, we would have it for what we're doing there. Minors division, kids pitch.
Right.
So in practice, we want a mound for them to be pitching and practicing on.
I was involved with those fields. When I was supervisor, we developed them for the Little League and the area we used by soccer. So Little League has the spring priority, and then soccer has fall priority. I think a third backstop could screw up soccer, you know, having a third field. That's why
Okay.
we never put a third field in there. So those are the priorities. Like he said, you would have to make one of those mounds removable, and they'd have to be removed by the softball people. You'd want to permanently stake them down because you want to use them during your time period, not have to put it away, you know.
Yeah, I think
Somehow they'd have to be secured permanently and then removed and put back by the softball people. But those fields were worked on and money was put on it for the Little League. And like I said, soccer has the second priority when they're not using it in the spring, and then soccer has the first priority in the fall.
So who decides on who uses it when?
from the league's perspective,
Yes.
me. So I'm the
Okay,
league
so
president.
so at this point, everything goes through you?
Everything
As
for
far as
field
the
side
different team
goes through
scheduling
me.
or whatever?
Yes.
And we don't have any kind of what am I saying? At one time, we had a committee.
So at one time, there was going to be, well, there is the Nittany Valley Joint Rec Authority. And way back when they first organized, that was one of their goals, was going to be to have every field available in some kind of a spreadsheet, and someone was going to oversee who was practicing when, so that scheduling could happen. That just never materialized. They got, stuck on the pole, and that's about the only thing that they've concentrated on at this point.
One other thing, and I don't know whatever happened to it, but we were given from the prison the property that's right at the I-99 interchange, a triangle between I-99 and the Human Resource Building, and that was to try to design a field or two to put there, because it wouldn't bother any homes or anything. But, you know, the money just wasn't there, grants to develop it.
I think that's 14 acres.
Yeah.
We're in desperate need of a location.
It's 14 acres.
I've been trying to work with
You're on
Greymont.
over up.
I mean, Greymont's had interest in the past.
That'd be a good location. I don't know how flat it is.
We
because it's
have a
so
Breon executive right here.
Okay.
X.
So John Maitland was the individual I was,
John.
and we've struggled to be able to connect for the last 2 months. I left
Where are you
one.
looking for ground there at?
So their Pleasant Gap line
Yeah, but-
plan, just down towards Zion from that on the right side, there was a field where there was, I think about 7 years ago, there was discussion about leasing that to our league to develop 2 practice fields. And the board at that time wouldn't make the commitment to the funds needed to build it out because we just built Field 3 in our Webster Field complex. So it died, and there was never a lease agreement signed. So I reapproached them this spring and started a conversation with Eric Stover, who I know.
Yeah.
I've met him in the past, and
Daryl Sharp, no, I don't know if you talked to Daryl.
I have not talked to Daryl. Eric pointed me to John and said he's the guy to talk to. He's the decision maker. So I've been trying to get in touch with him to have a meeting. We just haven't been able to get it to happen. But we're in a situation where we're desperate for fields, especially since we brought the leagues together. We have 340 kids now, softballs. You know, this negotiation process with them to separate completely, they feel they want to stay their own entity, and something's going to have to stay with them, so it's taking fields away from us.
Well, there's that 14 acres, but you have to develop it.
Yeah, so I would be working on
That
capital
was what it was
funding.
deemed for from the state, it was given to us as part of the land transfer of Spring Creek Canyon.
Okay.
Have you spoken to the
Oh, I
school
think if
district
it
at
could
all?
be used, I don't, like I said,
Closing
I've
down.
never.
Well, that's a question I had for the board.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
State police, state police.
You know, if there's
originally
any ground there
wanted
that they
So-
can use.
Yeah.
facility there, and then
Right.
they didn't.
Supposedly, that's going to become some offices, so
Where?
they're not gonna
Perry
use.
Elementary.
And I
Oh, I
know
know.
you guys have discussed about possibly that gym equipment and at one time and taking it to the park.
So a request I have, we use that field practices. 4 coach pitch teams usually practice there 3 to 5 days a week. So I've been concerned with the school shutting down, what's gonna happen to that field, because we use it a lot. And I didn't know if the township was involved in what's gonna happen there, who I should try to talk to. Because next spring, when it comes time, if that field's not there, then I have another big problem that I've gotta address. And we're talking about, you know, that's 90 kids I put on fields down here. And that field alone at Benner, that's another 50 kids that I've got to put on a field somewhere, so.
I would suggest that we look at that acreage up there. I mean, it's really, I don't know how flat it is.
I have no idea where you're talking about.
It's
so
where the
I need to
human
look at
resource,
that.
it's right across, it's where the old Rockview barracks was.
Okay.
There's a game road that goes in behind a human resource underneath 99. It's from the Better Pike, it's a triangle.
It's right where the lots,
It's
it's right where the new light went in.
Right across Silcotec.
Silcotec, it's
Okay.
straight across there.
Randy, I just looked at it and it's relatively level.
Well, I think, I wasn't sure because it's really overgrown.
Well, the game commission has told me in some of our tag meetings that they would go in and brush hog it out before
Yeah.
the growth got any larger.
They must have forgot that conversation.
So if it's 14 acres, I would think that would accommodate
A lot.
at least 3, 4 fields, maybe more.
So we were thinking of putting a soccer field and a couple baseball
Okay.
on and parking.
So that is actually our property?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the lights right there, it could be easily converted to use the,
Yeah.
coming out of that field.
Do we need enough for a parking lot and 2
That's
fields?
what we got from the canyon and all that stuff was originally converted from Rockview when they gave that away. We inherited a road, which we
That's a good
got rid
location,
of, went down to the other fish hatchery, and then this 14.
Yeah, well, we have to own something to be part of that group. If we wouldn't have inherited the road and got Fish Commission to fix it for us, and didn't own that property, we couldn't be part of that group. And that keeps us locked in as part of the group to determine what happens on that land, the Penn State and the Fish Commission and the game. Because we were supposed to own all the land the game commission.
Right.
And they came in and they weren't gonna be a partner. They came in with a plan finally and things. So all that land that was supposed to come to us went to the game commission, which wasn't a problem. So we need to hold on to a couple things so we're part of that group. And that
That might be a great use. There's, you know, the roads, I mean, that looks really nice.
I envisioned that 14 acres to be a rec area for the township.
I think there's a concrete structure up there though that I don't, nobody
So-
really knows what it is.
Yeah, well, it's, the thing with it is it was away from any houses, homes, if they had lights, if it was right there at I-99, it wouldn't bother anybody. You know what I
I'm
mean?
not sure though if there isn't a conservation easement on there
Probably.
from Clearwater.
You're saying on this parcel?
Well, in all the paperwork, we talked about using it as a rec area,
I mean,
and
that might be fine, and that, they
And that's
might,
part of
they might be okay
conservation.
with that. But they wouldn't allow that little strip of ground that was on Paradise Hill Road to
Right.
get a driveway into the property that was just burnt down to
Right.
be developed.
Okay, well, we'll look into that.
Yeah,
That's not horrible.
that seems like a good place to possibly expand in the later for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
And as far as my opinion is that, yeah, you guys shouldn't lose any of your time on the fields and stuff. I don't know what we do as far as removing a pitching mound and stuff.
I think the mound that's existing there could stay, and you just put the portable mound in front of it. And they can use, I mean, they're gonna use it for practice.
So
They're not gonna play any
so
games.
taking the grass out, would that affect you? Because I think they want to take the grass out as well.
I wouldn't mind that.
That's not gonna be a
No, the grass
deterrent.
could come out, I mean, most of our, we have 1/3 infield in our complex.
Okay.
In Westerfield. Yeah, that's not a big deal. But I prefer to see the permanent mound there, if they're just using it for practices, put the temporary mound in front of it 6 feet.
Yeah, I would like to see someone eventually from the township actually take the scheduling and make everybody come through our park and rec or whatever, so that we have a little bit of control on who uses it when or whatever. And, right, you guys have had that. I mean, that's my opinion on it.
So in their letter, what they were specifically asking or proposing was the removal of the existing grass infield and the conversion to an all-dirt infield, proper grading of the infield to meet softball standards, modification of the pitching area as the current mound is elevated for baseball and would need to be adjusted to create a regulation softball pitching lane.
Yes, the pitching is
Be up.
6 feet shorter.
I was gonna say it'd be up from the,
It's 6 feet closer.
Right.
But if they're not playing games on it, the permanent mound could stay there. They could have that mound in
right,
front.
just,
They're not going to play Nittany Valley softball
No.
games there. It's not going to happen.
Right,
Just
it's
practice.
for them as
Yeah,
well.
there's probably a total of 10 or less children that are playing softball in that league that are going to come to that field and play on it.
So as long as they stay away from your scheduling.
Yeah, I have no issue with it.
You'd be okay
As long as
with
we can maintain what we've been doing, March through the end of May, and it's essentially Monday through Friday, we're there every evening, the team's practicing. As long as we maintain that priority, our operations are going to be okay.
you know, all you have to do is put a temporary mound.
Yeah, basically just put a
Grass.
temporary mound in there.
Take out the grass.
She says our anticipated practice schedule would primarily take place on weekends in the spring, which should not interfere with their weekday
Yeah.
practice.
Does that make any sense with you?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. One other thing I would suggest, if you do take out the grass, it requires more maintenance in terms of spraying. So the field that you just did redo next to the Bilyeu, that infield got reworked, but now there's a lot of grass encroaching in that infield. It hasn't been treated. I don't have a commercial applicator's license to go to that field and spray with herbicide myself. So I can't do that. I would do it if I could to help
Well,
maintain.
our employees don't either. We usually sub that out to
Yeah.
Ehrlich.
So like right now, it's in poor shape because it hasn't been sprayed and maintained. So if you turn it to a full dirt infield, someone's gonna have to do spraying on that to maintain it more than if it's just the grass infield.
Right. Simple enough.
Could be. Okay, any other discussion on that?
Do we set the temporary fencing?
I believe it's still up in the,
We have temporary fencing that you could actually play a game.
Oh, yeah.
That a fence could go up so you could determine a home run or not.
Okay.
That was always available to you guys.
Yeah, we've never played, as long as I've been around, any games there. It's always just been a practice location.
We had to play makeup games there back when I was involved.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, we use Spring Township for that, if we need to now. That doesn't happen often, but occasionally.
Great. Okay, well, it sounds like that might be solved. So moving on, we have the release of the Reno Brothers bond for Breon's Lane.
that was expected and everything.
Right.
was found in order.
That's done. I would move to approve the release of that.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we have the release and update bond for Lenoard Fiore on Rishel Hill Road.
Yeah, they want to continue bonding that road for the Rogers's fill site. So since we've done improvements to the road, the bond was up more than what it was before. Still only $10,000, which isn't
Nothing.
cover much.
That fixes a pothole. Okay, well, I would move to approve the release and update the bond.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Okay, is there any persons that would like to address the board here that's not on the agenda? Okay. That's great. That, I'd like to let everyone know this is Sharon's last meeting here. So she has resigned, and that's a rotten day for the township.
I have a question.
Okay,
Is she gonna stay on for a little bit, or?
you have to ask Sharon what she's gonna do.
We've been attempting to bribe her, if that's what you're asking.
Well, I think.
I said that I would stay on till the end of the year to finish out all the financials and through the audit so that we don't have to have an interim audit
Okay.
done
So
and
you
pay
just
another bond.
Pretty much look at the books.
Yes.
So,
Do
yeah,
payroll
Continue
or-
doing payroll and all of the accounting through the end of the year.
Well, is there gonna be a big party for your leaving? You invite all the residents in and say thank
Yeah.
you? 39 years is a long time.
It was a very long time.
Yep.
Can we look
Well-
into maybe renaming the township, Sharon?
No, we're not.
Well, I want to wish her well in her new endeavors. We're gonna miss her a lot.
Yeah, really. I think you're gonna have a hard time.
Oh, no.
Well, on that subject, if I may, just a minute, and this is just food for thought. Have you ever thought about Koch Township, when they were going through this transition of a manager and everything? There was a long time supervisor, last name was Williams, but I forget his first name, but he went on to, he did part-time manager for a while. He left the Board of Supervisors. And then they went on and hired him full-time later down the road. And I'm just wondering if, with your years of experience, if you may look at something like that. This is food for thought. Don't even
Well, that'd make
say
people
yes or
bitch.
no. but,
That'd make the haters really hate.
I mean, you spent, what, close to 18 years,
Yeah.
and you've,
You can see where that got us.
along with Sharon, well, I think you got us quite
Oh, what?
comfortable. I mean, Sharon's leaving with, what's our surplus now? Over $1 million? You netted a dime into that? I mean, let's call it spade a spade. I mean, and the same way with you, you had a hand in that. And I'm just wondering if maybe it isn't time for you to spend 4 more years as manager guiding where that money's gonna go. I mean, you both worked, and the board worked so hard for it.
Done.
I mean, you don't wanna let it go to somebody who's gonna spend it like a fool. Just food for thought.
That's good.
I mean, you'd have to put an ordinance in, you'd have to get a contract, 4 or 5 year contract. But, you know, these things are possible. That way somebody wouldn't come in and throw you out on a whim. Food for thought. Thank you.
Okay, Bob, very good. Anybody else? Deb?
Sharon, I will come in 3 days a week, unpaid, to answer phones and take any abuse if you stay on.
Nope, my mind is made up. There's not enough money in the world for me to stay.
Don't blame her. Okay, anybody else? Meeting's adjourned.
I'm like 10 years younger already.